Like we are live. What's up, everybody? This, believe it or not, is Whiskey in the Six. I'm Rob, and I have a plethora of legends in the whiskey industry with me, Whiskytube in particular. Jeremy just dropped out, so hopefully we'll get him back soon. But we'll start with the man to my right. That's from Scotland. Roy, why don't you introduce yourself? Not that they need
everybody. But. Hey, Rob. Pleasure to be here. Pleasure to be hanging out with you to celebrate this couple of milestones. 5 years for the channel, big guy, and that elusive 10,000 subscribers as well. Anybody that doesn't know me, I'm Roy. I'm based in Scotland. I'm in Glasgow. It's currently about 1:30 in the morning here just now, but I'm feeling quite awake and very, very happy to be here to hang out with you. The channel is Aqvavitae on YouTube. Pleasure to be here, buddy.
Thanks for coming in, man. I appreciate it. It looks like Jeremy's having some technical difficulties. He's frozen again at the bottom there, so I'm just going to wait till he comes back. Now, Scotty's at the top right. So, Scotty, why don't you say hello?
Scott here, Scotch Test Dummies, and congratulations, Rob, on the 10K subscribers.
Thank you, man.
Good going. Good, congratulations. Tomorrow will be 8 weeks for me that my taste buds have been gone. I do have a little bit of them left, but not that, or a little bit of them that's starting to show up. So I'm only drinking a little bit. Rob arranged for us to get samples. Some of us got them in time, but I'm going to save most of this to drink when my taste buds return, Rob.
Whoa. I just got to quickly jump in before the introductions and say a huge, that's the guy right there. Huge thank you to Eric Wade. Thank you so much, buddy. Really appreciate the chat.
Whoa.
Honestly, when I went to invite guests and all these other things, I thought of everybody, of course, and unfortunately you can't have everybody, but it would have been nice. Maybe way through the year we can have more guests on, but thank you very much, Eric. Really appreciate it. Guys, check out his whiskey channel if you haven't already. All right, let's go down to Jason just below me.
Again, always under you, man.
That sounded pretty weird.
What's up, everybody? I'm Jason from the Master and Drone Whiskey Room. Thanks for having me on, Rob. Again, congrats on 10K and 5 years, 2 huge milestones. So cheers. Always happy to be on with you. We've done a lot of different collabs together. So yeah, thanks for having me on tonight. This is a lot of fun.
My pleasure, buddy. Thanks for coming. And my boys over here from SoCal over here, Malt Reviews. Narbe.
What's happening, everyone? I'm Narbe. That's Mike.
What's up, guys?
Malt Reviews. Thanks for having us on, Rob, and congratulations.
Congratulations, Rob. Absolutely.
It's been a pleasure watching your whiskey journey on YouTube and becoming friends, even though we've never met. And I'm excited for you, buddy. Thanks for having us on.
Soon we're going to meet in person.
Absolutely. And wow, the generosity is crazy tonight. Congrats, Rob. I'm here from Aqvavitae's channel. Happy to find this awesome channel. This is $5. I'm not as good as Eric. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jayla.
There we go. Hopefully we get Jeremy back. I'm not sure what happened to him. Maybe he got into a fight with his cat.
Maybe he's restarting his internet or something.
Yeah, that's possible. His girlfriend's playing in PlayStation 5 right now and took all the bandwidth. So, so thank you everybody for joining in the crowd. Thank you guys for joining. When I'm a little bit superstitious, I was telling some of these guys off camera, and I literally cracked this bottle the day I hit 10K, and that's actually not me. That's all the samples that I sent out of this bottle. So it's, I guess, a heel left, and my good buddy in the chat or in the on screen over here always says, whiskey's meant to be shared. Not exactly in those words. I'll let him say it the way he says it later on. But yeah, so most of this has been shared. A couple of my Patreons won samples as well. So I'm not even sure if they got theirs, but I know that they're from California, so I'm going to guess that they probably didn't. Oh, looks like Jeremy's back on. 1 second. There we go. Looks like he's good now. And then,
hey, what's going on? There you go.
You guys know this guy, but I'll allow him to introduce himself anyway.
Hey, it's Jared.
Uh-oh. Get off the PlayStation 5.
So, all right, so we'll see. I'm assuming he'll come back with some stronger connection. He's in the city. I'm actually in the outskirts. I'm not sure what the problem is, but yeah. So I have a few questions that I prepared for you guys tonight, and that's like not typical for Whiskey in the Six because I usually don't prepare much. I just kind of go with the flow and do whatever, whatever bottles in front of me. I don't really do too much research and all those other things. But I wanted to hear some things from you guys tonight because obviously I really, really respect all of your channels. Obviously, I feel like, really strongly about your opinions on whiskey and stuff like that. So a couple of things I wanted to know is if I could relate to some of the stories of hunting whiskey in 2020 and all these different things. I have a whole bunch of super chats I got to say thank you for over here. So just give me a sec. Derek is saying, congratulations. Thank you, buddy. Love watching. Appreciate it, Derek. And then Foodquig, thank you so much, buddy, for the super chat. Really appreciate it. All right, so first question, and we'll try to keep that order if you guys don't mind, if that's cool with you, how you introduced yourselves. Biggest surprise in whiskey in 2020. So 2020 has been an interesting year for everybody, I think. But I don't know about you guys. I had some pleasant surprises, and mainly probably whiskeys that I wouldn't have explored if it wasn't for the difficulty in finding those epic bottles that I always chase down. Probably for no good reason. I'm starting to learn for no good reason because there's a lot of gems out there. So I guess, Roy, we can start with you if you have an answer to the question, or we can, if you guys don't feel comfortable or you don't really have an answer for it, you can just pass it or whatever you like. It doesn't have to be formal. Yeah, Roy, you can
Absolutely, buddy. First thing I'll say is that, yes, Planet Canada, I wasn't able to get my Glendronach through yet. It's still not arrived, but I look forward to it perhaps dropping over Christmas or New Year. However, I do have something special. And a very good friend of mine over in Canada sent me this. This was from Rob DeSantis at Whiskey in the Six channel. You might have heard of it. I've been saving this for a while, Rob. Do you recognize this?
That looks, I can't remember which one that is. Is that the Glengoyne 30?
It's the Glengoyne 30, yes.
Oh, nice.
So this is, I've been waiting for, it's one of those moment drams, right? It's really, really special whiskey. And I thought, well, I didn't get the Glendronach, but I've got something in backup and it's been here ever since. So I'll pour it into the glass. I'll give it time. It needs the time. And I'll try my very best to get through your question. So, I mean, there's been lots of kind of really nice whiskies to talk about, surprise whiskies and things. But from a personal perspective, I think one of the surprises to me this year, this idea that as enthusiasts, we're all getting quite excited and really talking up whiskies and getting geekier and geekier and geekier. And it's okay. We're drawing an audience based on that, and people are quite happy to talk about barley strains and all these crazy wood maturation policies and things. And it's open season. It's fine these days. And this year, I started to get my head around something that I've been in the, I'm always in the company of people that know much more than I do, and they're much more experienced at tasting than I am. And when they talk about flavors and picking out flavors in whiskey, they're not just speaking about specific flavors, but they're picking out how those flavors have come to the whiskey, whether it's from the spirit or the grain, or whether it was fermentation or maturation, cut points, whatever it might have been. And that happened to me this year, and it happened to me with this. This is a Loch Lomond. This isn't a particularly special or expensive bottling. It was only about £50. And this was a 12-year-old that they released as part of the Open. They sponsored the Open golf tournament, and they released this. But what was special about it is that this used wine yeast. It used a Chardonnay yeast instead of distiller's yeast. And I got to taste this alongside its sister product that used distiller's yeast back to back. And that was fascinating to me. So all of those flavors that you're locking in on, all those fruit flavors, all those really ripe, juicy, kind of fragrant floral notes and things, you're suddenly able to connect those flavors to fermentation specifically. So the fact that this particular release from Loch Lomond and so many other releases out there are starting to experiment with their barley, starting to experiment with small batch runs, small campaigns using specific specific yeasts and things like that. That was a surprise to me, because it, not only is it a good thing, but it's a good thing that I can actually connect to. Yeah. I can taste the difference that it makes, and I think that's a wonderful thing to celebrate. And I think we should hopefully look forward to a bit more of things like that happening in the future, because it's absolutely fascinating.
Awesome. Just gonna do a few quick thank yous before we go to our next. Peter White, thank you so much for the super chat, buddy. Longtime supporter. Probably, honestly, Peter White might be my first ever subscriber. I'm pretty sure he actually is. I've known him for 5 years now, so thank you very much for all the support, Peter. I really appreciate it. In Touch Mortgage Solutions. That's my buddy Anthony. Thank you so much, buddy. I really appreciate that super chat. Really appreciate it, buddy. Thanks for the support. And there was, did I miss? I feel like I missed one. Or maybe it was ahead and I already got to it. All right. Nope, I did miss one. We got over here. John Kranz, what's going on, buddy? Thank you so much. Says congratulations on 10K. Thanks, guys. Thank you very much, John. Really appreciate it. Scotty, you're up. What is your surprise whiskey in 2020?
Well, I had to think about that one a little bit, and after looking over my bottles, I think it's the popularity of the Scotch Malt Whiskey Society and what we've seen happen with them this past year. Really seems like a lot of people got tuned in. Of course, they bottle some good whiskeys, and it seems like a lot of people discovered them this year, and we've seen it in their releases, and even just trying to get, some of those those distilleries that we're more familiar with, and we've seen those bottles being snatched up, quick, left and right. And so it almost became, that hunt of trying to get that bottle. And that really, I would say that's probably what surprised me this year. So.
Yeah. SMWS has been a nice kept secret for probably, I would say, a very long time, until Whiskytube got their hands on it, and then Whiskytube kind of destroyed the secret. And we do with everything, I think.
Exactly. Yeah.
Pretty much all the secrets out there, Whiskytube is destroyed. But it's brought a lot of good too. Alan is saying, congrats on the success joining via Roy. If you're taking questions, I'd be curious to know how everyone became hooked on whiskey. We could once we get through a couple of these, then we'll definitely check back to that one. Hopefully Jeremy will remember that one, because his internet's been so bad he's been able to watch from a distance. So Jeremy actually buds the line over here, so I'll let him go next just in case he blacks out again.
I've switched to my phone. I apologize. I don't know what's happening with my internet. It's probably something to do with Rogers in Toronto. Who knows? But anyway, cheers, everyone. What's the question? I got to answer a question.
So there's biggest surprise in whiskey in 2020.
Biggest surprise. Good question. I think I'm pleasantly surprised of all the younger age statements that are coming out. You look at stuff like Kilkerran and their 8-year-old. You look at Ardbeg coming out with a 5-year-old. Maybe a trend that might continue on. I'm surprised about that. I don't think that a distillery like Ardbeg would maybe do that. But it might inspire some more distilleries, some bigger name distilleries, come out with some younger stuff. Even though I wasn't necessarily thrilled with the Wee Beastie, I still commend them on doing that. And I think that was pretty cool thing to see.
Awesome. Just gonna say a couple thank yous over here. Whiskey Mystery, with honestly very popular tours of local stores in California. Honestly, I'm digging them. I'm sure I know a few of you guys are as well because we've talked about it. Whiskey Mystery is a very cool YouTube channel, guys. Check it out. Thank you very much. You're seeing for Jeremy's internet fund.
Thanks, Bill. Appreciate that.
That's what.
Then we got Jason Fisk, a good man who helped me acquire a very nice Glenfarclas family cask very recently. Saying congrats, Rob. Been fun following and participating in the journey. Thanks, buddy. I really appreciate the support. You're awesome, man. All right, let's go to Jason. Mash and Drum. Biggest surprise in whiskey in 2020?
I think overall for me was the amount of finishes that we saw, especially in American whiskey. A lot of bourbons that are being finished in everything from Chardonnay to Cabernet to Armagnac to rum to, I mean, it's endless. A lot of bourbon purists kind of scoff at that. They don't like, because they feel like you're adding flavor and color to a bourbon. Therefore, it shouldn't be called a bourbon anymore if you're going by the strict rules of, the bourbon gospel. So I think that's been one surprise, but I think that's just kind of pushing the envelope in American whiskey and seeing more people get into it with those different finishes. But honestly, the biggest surprise for me this year, just trying a bottle that I was blown away by, was this year's George Dickel Bottled in Bond. It was 11 years old this year. Last year's was 13 years old. I know Scott from Scotch Test Dummies, he was a fan of it. Not a lot of people like the 13 because it was had that vitamin George Dickel flavor profile. But the 11 year this year was so off George Dickel profile. And so, I don't know, it just had a different feel and tone and taste to it. And I absolutely loved it. And I did not realize that I completely expected something different. And I'm wondering now if that's going to be the direction of George Dickel and what they put out next.
All right. And then Mike.
Yeah, I would say the biggest surprise for me this year is what's kind of, and it's been happening, but I think bourbon has been more popular than Scotch within at least the Southern California community here. You're seeing bottles that were available for $50 on the shelf last year that are selling out at $250 now. And it's Scotch is obviously still very sought after, but I haven't seen that crazy of a jump in Scotch in 2020. It's kind of the same as it was in 2019. But in 2020, bourbon here is to get your hands on a 5-year-old bourbon that, has a halfway decent reputation, you got to fight for it now. So that's been kind of shocking to me to see, and I've been talking to store owners and they're making more money, a lot of them, through bourbon than Scotch. And it wasn't the case for them in previous years. So I never thought that was going to happen, but bourbon is going this way.
Yeah.
Scotch is still going this way, but it seems like bourbon is just going a little cuckoo.
Yeah.
And along those same lines, it's just the explosion of Whiskytube, the explosion of Bourbon Tube and all the demand. But like Roy was saying, with all the education through Whiskytube, hopefully it leads to the customer, demanding more transparency, whether it's bourbon or Scotch, like you were saying about the yeast, for the first time, you have the customer wondering and learning about the yeast strain, and all that kind of stuff. So hopefully it leads to a very discerning customer getting what he or she wants.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? Part of me is afraid of this revolution because the bottles that were pretty easy to find last year, the year before, just keep getting harder and harder. That's a kind of a question I bring up later on, but because of the knowledge out there now, because of the widespread understanding of what's good quality whiskey and what they should be actually looking for, the stuff that we're looking for is off the shelf really, really quick. So it's becoming a little bit scary out there, but also a very good thing as well. And maybe the pressure will be put where it belongs, which is on the distilleries, right? So,
Yeah.
Jimmy's saying, congratulations, Rob. Hoping for us better U.S.-Canadian relations, better whiskey sharing between nations. Yeah, buddy. Thank you very much. Really appreciate that. I guess my biggest surprise in 2020 was a Canadian distillery, a distillery that is slowly making waves in the Canadian markets and reaching abroad now. It's called Shelter Point, and they're from Vancouver Island specifically, and they're doing everything from their farming, grain to glass, everything, and they specialize in single malt. And the climate on Vancouver Island is, compared to the rest of Canada, very nice. Actually, it's pretty nice, warm summers, and then very mild, very rare cold days in the winter. So I think that will make for a nice aging experience, like a little bit more of a rapid pace to the aging in Vancouver as well. So, and it's noticeable. I have a 5-year-old Shelter Point and a 7-year-old Shelter Point, and they both have tricked many people into thinking that they're 15 to 20-year-old Highland Scotch whiskey. So, I mean, obviously the experience level varies on those two people, but still, to think that even if they're 12 plus, I think that's a big compliment. So they're doing really cool things, and hopefully I get to share those whiskeys with you guys in the near future. A couple thank yous in order here. Richard, thank you so much, buddy. Hi, everyone. He says, Rob, congratulations on 10K. Thank you very much, Richard. Richard's a longtime supporter of the channel. He's from Hawaii, enjoying great prices out there in Hawaii, actually. So cheers, buddy. Actually, I missed one before that. Claude Venuto, thank you so much, buddy. Another good friend of mine. Thank you for the support, Claude. I really appreciate it, buddy.
First of all, the name Claude Venuto.
That is an awesome name.
That is an awesome name. Yeah.
Yeah.
If I was going to change my name, it would be to Claude Venuto.
Was that his porn star name or a different name?
It's possible. I don't know.
You can go either way with that name. Either like either a porn star or like a upscale fashion designer.
Absolutely. Yeah. Claude Venuto purse. Yeah.
Are you wearing a Claude Venuto? Yes, I am.
CV. Hey, Jason, it's a CV.
That's a CV, exactly.
All right, Michael saying congratulations, Rob. Fantastic achievement. Love the channel. Here's to the next 10K. Thank you so much, buddy. Really appreciate it. Thanks for all the generosity, guys. You guys are all awesome. And another one over here, Sean. Congrats, Rob. Thank you for the continued reviews and for turning me on to Longrow. My pleasure. Everybody deserves some Longrow in their life because it's definitely a game changer. All right, next question. That seemed like a long time since we got to a new question. So, most difficult bottle to acquire. I guess this shouldn't be, well, and the second part to this question, you guys don't have to go into too much detail, but if you'd like to, you can. Most difficult bottle to acquire and funny bottle hunting story. So you can go with one, you can go with both, you can go with whatever you like. So
well, I think without ending up down the rabbit hole, is it to me, Rob? Sorry.
Yes, it's you. Yes, sorry.
Without ending up going down the rabbit hole of kind of you touched on it with the bourbon thing that's happening over there in North America right now. That it's really tough to get your hands on bottles and things for anything of decent quality. That's kind of happening just right across the board, and you wonder sometimes, is it because people are engaging and enjoying and drinking and sharing it, or is it, I can't speak because of all the sealed bottles that's over my shoulder here, but sometimes we're kind of, maybe it's the glass lock, that idea that people are collecting and keeping and hoarding a wee bit. And that's happening everywhere right now. So it can be tough to get your hands on the bottles at times, because for so long they're just simply not making enough. They couldn't have predicted the demand and the strains and we've got to kind of, even when you talk about the bourbon there, you're talking about 5-year-old bourbon. Well, probably in Scotch terms, it's even longer, potentially. So I've kind of adopted the attitude that I'm going to I'll try and get my hands on the bottle. And if I don't get it, I don't get it. We have a saying in Scotland, I'm sure you have something similar in North America, that's if it's for you, it won't go past you. It doesn't go by you, we say. So, you're not going to miss out. If it's fate decides you're going to get that bottle, you'll get it somehow. So I tend not to join lists and fight and stand online and things. What I want to be able to do is talk about the whiskies that other people can get their hands on and drink along with me, I suppose. But there are some bottles out there that you will go that extra mile for. And you will kind of make pre-launch inquiries and things. And I have to say that the coolest distillery in town this year has clearly been Kilkerran. The same as last year as well, Glengyle Distillery, that produced the Kilkerran products. And that's because they're doing a damn good product, and they're putting out there a great presentation, and they're putting out at a great price. And I live in the country where they make it, and it's really tough to get a hold of it. Somebody, I think it was Jeremy, already mentioned the Kilkerran 8-year-old this year, which was from Richard Oloroso casks. It was an amazing, powerful, bold whiskey. The 2021 release from Kilkerran is going to be from Oloroso casks again, but it's a much lighter prospect. I've had the chance to try it. It's not quite as bold. There's much more of the Campbelltown Kilkerran spirit coming through on that one, but it's sherry cask again. So I'm excited about that. In terms of bottle chasing, I got my fingers burnt in January this year, and it taught me a lesson, actually. I've never won a ballot for anything in my life, and I tend not to enter them often. But I was on the Macallan mailing list, and the ballot thing comes out. They invite you to. It's dead easy to to enter into the ballot and then forget about it. And I was coming back on a flight late night 2019, and I got an email from Macallan to say that I'd won the ballot. I've never won a ballot in my life. And I decided to go and buy this whiskey, and I got to the checkout, and it was £750, about almost $1,000. And I thought, okay, no. But I won't say his name because he's known in the community, but there was a guy sitting next to me that said, okay, well. And I was like, okay, will we? And I bought this whiskey. And it was the first time in my life I bought a whiskey with no intention of drinking it. And that was just, I knew immediately in my gut it was not the right thing to do. It's not what I'm about. And I put it in auction in January of this year, and I lost £100 on it. I sold it for £650. So it taught me immediately. I didn't like the way I felt about it. I certainly didn't like losing £100 on it. And it taught me that I know more about whiskey than that. That was not a canny thing to do. I know to work out how many bottles are being released. And if they don't tell you, that's because there's a lot of bottles out there, and they're keeping their light under a bushel, right? I knew to kind of find out a bit about the whiskey, because if a whiskey is going to be in demand, it's going to be because, like the Kilkerran 8, people are opening it, sharing it, drinking it, and they're evangelizing about it.
That's right.
Nobody was evangelizing about Macallan's Easter Elchies Black 2019. So it taught me a real lesson there. Connect with the whiskies that you know that you're going to enjoy sharing with friends, with the community, that everybody's going to get a chance to enjoy. And the ones that are kind of luxury product placed and things, even if there's a spectre of maybe making some money on it, that's not what I'm about. And that was my experience with bottle chasing this year, and trying to. And I'm out. I'm not very good at that. That's not what I'm here for. It's not what I do. So there you go. But so more of the Kilkerran style things and less of the kind of luxury goods, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, the law of diminishing returns, right? I mean, there's so many whiskeys out there that we tend to think that they're going to be much better than they are, and then you spend all that money and. The reality sets in that almost equal experience for a quarter of the price. It's happened to me a bunch of times. So
that's right.
Yeah.
And I think when the whiskey is affordable, you feel okay about drinking it and getting through it and sharing it. But when it's expensive, you suddenly become very careful with it, and it becomes a precious drop. I mean, for me, and it brings a little bit of kind of financial anxiety, which whiskey. That's not really what whiskey's about for me. So that I had to learn my lesson this year. Confessions.
Scotty, what about you, buddy?
The only hunting that I do for whiskey now is for
Wait, I have to interrupt. I mean, Claude Venuto Jr.
yes, Claude Venuto Jr. not senior. No. So each year, the Buffalo Trace Antique Collection comes out. Probably some of my favorite whiskeys. I'm not going to stand in line for it. I'm not going to wait overnight, anything like that. But I'll make my rounds and just check to see if any stores have it, whatnot. Check my store, and each year I do try to get a stag, which I did this year. So most years I do from them. The problem is they have people that are paying $400 and $500 for this, and so I don't even get it at retail. But they do bargain with me, and I get it at a pretty good discount from that. But it's probably one of the best whiskeys, I think. And I paid $200 for this one, which I think it's well worth that. But I mean, still, that's getting high when retail is $90, I think, for them, $100.
This is supposed to be, well, according to the gentleman below you, all three of them actually that have already tasted it, they've said that this is one of the best I've heard. So, or one of the better ones anyway.
Yeah, but like I say, there's and the thing is, like, with the whiskey and bourbon just blowing up and becoming so popular, and with these and the Van Winkles, people are paying outrageous sums for those. The thing, and I'm not going to do that. But the thing, there's so much good whiskey out there. You don't have to spend exorbitant amounts.
Yeah, I agree.
And like Roy said, we know we're in the business. We know what's reasonable. Is it worth paying that for it? And so I think that saves us a lot, because I do see some in other stores. I'll see some allocated bottles and stuff, and I'm like, yeah, that's way too overpriced. I'm not paying that. So a lot of these, I've seen these in our area for $999 for the BTAC bottles. Yeah, and people are obviously paying that and buying them for that.
It's a joke.
It's scary. Yeah. Scary. Just a quick few thank yous before we continue. Foodquake says, keep it coming with a second. Buddy, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. He's obviously loving what you guys are saying. So to you guys, keep it coming. And then Richard again over here. Thank you. And he says, I agree with Malt Reviews. Bourbon this year is crazy. I hate bourbon, but bought a ton of it this year. He's loving the old Carter stuff. So he bought a whole bunch of it this year. So thank you, Richard. Really appreciate it, buddy. Let's go to, well, wait, I think we're good. We're caught up, I believe. Yeah. Oh, wait, no, I lied. We are not. George, thank you so much, buddy. He says, congrats, Rob, on 10K, and cheers to many more. Love these rabbit hole discussions. Thanks, buddy. Cheers. Jeremy, most difficult ball here.
Yeah. Well, I really was just like inspired by Roy's comments there, and I'd like to be, more willing to follow that path. But unfortunately, I'm just a brutal tater, and I need to get whatever is popular at the time. So I was chasing the Weller single barrel. I mean, it was the biggest buzz in the bourbon world this year. So I'm a sucker for those private secondary market lottos, and threw my money away trying to win a bottle of that. Probably spent, a good $150 or so down the drain trying to win that bottle. So that was my brutal tater chase of the year. And Springbank 21, still trying to find it. That is the chase that's continuing. Yeah, sorry, shouldn't mention that out loud. We do have 150 people in this chat right now, just so you know. So huge live. But yeah, so Springbank 21, still trying to chase that down. But yeah, the tater bourbons, man, I'm a sucker for them, and I gotta try to gamble my way to get one.
Yeah, you're not a bad guy. Jason, go ahead, buddy.
Yeah, don't even get me started on the tater assholes and the bourbons. Come on. I think this year, because of COVID, was an interesting chasing year, because I'd never done so much, out of state sourcing and bottle hunting, in my life. I mean, I had a a whole network of people trying to hunt down bottles because I wasn't going to be able to go travel and hunt them down myself. Probably the craziest one I got was a bottle that I wanted for a long time, which is this one, which is the Evan Williams 23-year-old bourbon. They only released this in the Evan Williams Experience, which is down, in downtown Louisville. You don't see it often in stores. It's usually at high-end, really good bourbon bars, which is where I had it for the first time. And ever since then, I coveted a bottle. So this bottle, to acquire this one, I bought a bottle of 4-Gate. And Rob, you got to try that 4-Gate. I still have your bottle here when the time comes. That's a $200 bottle. And I ordered their batch 6 online. And they said there was a shipping issue, but we'll send it soon. And then I actually ended up getting 2 bottles. Of course, I didn't tell no one. So I ended up taking one of those bottles and trading it and like doing a whole networking thing, like who had this bottle, trading it with someone that had this and was looking for a 4-Gate and was willing to part with this. And I think it went through about 3 or 4 different shipping locations. And then I finally ended up getting one. So that was probably my my craziest story this year.
Awesome. I know this next story is going to be very, very interesting because these boys acquire some crazy shit.
Yeah.
Mike, Narbe, any interesting stories to share with?
Before that, we're going to do a bottle kill, which I'm not holding it up on the camera, I guess, for a 30-year-old. Do a little bit of a bottle kill to celebrate your 10K. But in terms of hunting down bottles, there was a bourbon that
can we just have a minute's silence for that bottle that you're killing there? just in case anybody that's tuning in tonight doesn't realize how big a deal this is, because Mike and Narbe are literally sipping at the altar of Brora right now, which is an altar that very few people get to even step towards.
I know, and they're pouring it like it's iced tea right in the glass.
But to be uncorking a bottle of Brora is a big deal. To be killing it is like a once in a YouTube lifetime thing. Well done, boys. Well done.
Brora definitely is very special. And Roy, I am a very big fan of your channel. I know you have tried the 72 40-year-old, right? Before.
Yes, which is. And that there's an interesting story behind that, because my friend the Whiskey Rev had a friend who worked at Stranahan's. He got sick when he was working at Stranahan's. They had to ship him back home, and he had a huge healthcare debt to pay from when he was in Colorado. And they did some fundraising and things like that for him here, and the Whiskey Rev was involved. And as a gift, this guy had some of this whiskey, and he poured, and it was a big sample. It was like this kind of size sample bottle, maybe a wee bit bigger. And he gave him this big slice of the bottle to say thank you. And when the Whiskey Rev handed it to me, he was trembling like this. Because it's not just the fact that it's Brora. It's not just the fact that it's 40-year-old Brora.
72.
It was 1972 40-year-old Brora. Yeah. The Whiskey Rev and I, the night that we were sipping that, we had no idea what to drink to build up to drinking such a thing. Yeah. We knew. And we sipped it. And there's nothing to say. There's no words. You don't talk. You just sit there, and all the hairs on the back of your neck and everything. It's just everything, because it's not just about how good a whiskey it was, and it was a wonderful whiskey.
Yeah,
it's about the reverence that the moment that you need to give that whiskey its thing, and consider just how few people on the planet is ever going to be able to for that liquid to touch their lips. It's quite amazing. So I'm really, really flattered, by the way. Can I just say that you would even know that thing happened? Thank you very much for tuning in the channel, guys. Thank you.
And I'm not able to catch your lives usually because it's during work hours, but I get to try to watch afterwards. And obviously, your legendary recycled reviews are always extremely entertaining as well.
Well, maybe one day this will appear in a recycled review.
Oh yeah, there you go.
There we go.
This was my. So I've been talking about it. You talk about it. This is the Brora that Serge Valentin referred to as flabbergasting. So if he's using adjectives like that, you're going to pay attention. And I've been talking about it. And My wife gave me a chunk of money. The in-laws gave me a chunk of money. My brother-in-law gave me a chunk of money, and I kept the money. I said, I'm not going to do it. But then a friend of mine bought one, and this is the note that came in the birthday card from my son. Sorry, Rob. Sorry, I'll share this with you because it's amazing. I love you, Dad, so much. I will make it my life mission to get you a Brora. That's written here. So that was it. I just went on to the Whiskey Exchange. The money went. I didn't care how much it cost. That was it. It's getting
That's
here.
a 2013 release?
Sorry? Yes.
2013.
Yes. You're very knowledgeable. I know how just tuned into this kind of stuff you guys are. It's the 35 2013 special release. My idea with this is to take it up to the distillery up in Sutherland there, to take a rug and a small glass, maybe some friends, and go up above the distillery where there's a lot of construction going on right now with expansion, and they're bringing Brora back to life, and maybe uncork it there in a field.
Wow.
Probably on a blowy, windy, cold, wet, damp day. But it won't matter. It won't matter. That's kind of my idea.
Awesome.
That's incredible.
But to answer the biggest surprise whiskey for us this year was actually a bourbon. And it's kind of like we were talking about earlier. 9 out of 10 times you buy something that's expensive or a special release, there's a special story behind it. I mean, I can't tell you how angry we get because, we do overspend and we do expect a lot, but it's very, very rare where you kind of go into a special bottling and the expectation is actually exceeded. Yep. And shockingly, this very old Saint Nick, 17-year-old, which is cask strength Stitzel-Weller juice. I know there is rumors that it was, but I'm pretty close to 100% sure that it actually is. The distillery themselves, they're saying it is, so I don't think they would be lying. So cask strength Stitzel-Weller, 17-year-old, and then when we opened this, it was mind-blowing, just absolutely mind-blowing. And acquiring it wasn't difficult. We were able to get it from a local shop, but they recently released, this is called the Lost Barrel. They recently released a unicorn cask, which is also a 17-year-old unicorn cask version of it. And it's only being sold in Kentucky at a few places and at the distillery. It's sold out. So we called the distillery and we asked them to let us know if they were going to get any more. They called us a few days ago and said they got another case. And we've never been to Kentucky. They can't ship it here. So we bought a bottle each to leave over there. And it's also an excuse for us to go and visit Kentucky and also go pick up that bottle. So I think that's probably the coolest story we have in terms of a bottle hunt kind of a thing this year. And shockingly, it's bourbon. We are always chasing scotches, but this year's was a bourbon.
Nice.
So unfortunately, I have to follow these guys, which my story is gonna be garbage compared to that. We're gonna go on to the next question. Aurora and the same Nick, Jesus. Okay, non-whiskey spirit of the year. Non-whiskey spirit of the year. So obviously, this can be whatever you prefer. I know the Malt Reviewers boys drink some Armagnacs and Cognacs. I'll go first with this one since I passed on the last one. Mine has to be the Foursquare Nobiliary or Nobiliary, however people want to pronounce that. That rum is unbelievable, and it's a cask strength, I believe, 14-year-old rum. Phenomenal stuff. Just fell in love with it. It drinks like a really well-aged whiskey for me. Maybe somewhere between a bourbon, and it has elements of single malt in there too, but obviously it's neither of those things. It's a rum. Just really, really good stuff. So that's my answer for that one. How about you, Roy?
Well, isn't that interesting? I mean, the thing is that I'm already confused and my brain capacity is saturated just with Scotch, by the way. And even if I just keep it within malt and I went to Irish malt and world malt, American malt, Canadian, my goodness, we're spoiled for choice. It's never been as good as it is today. So it's difficult to even keep up. So the idea to go out and to start exploring bourbons, to start exploring other styles of whiskey is difficult enough without stepping into other spirits. But I do enjoy it from time to time, because at the end of the day, we're all obsessed with the flavor chase, right? We're all chasing the flavor. So I'm going to hold up, Rob, what I connected with this year, and it completely put my lights out. It taught me that whiskey isn't the be all and end all, and it's Foursquare Nobiliary.
Wow.
You're absolutely right. It's 14 years old, pot still rum, 62% ABV, but it sips. I mean, it sips cask strength. Don't get me wrong, but you can easily enjoy this just the way it pours out the bottle. It's a wonderful thing, and I think what's interesting about it is you sip it. Yes, you can appreciate that it's rum, but it's rum for a whiskey drinker, as you touched on, Rob. Absolutely. But there's lots of flavors in this that take you back to antique whiskies, old style malts and things, and I want to pour a wee bit now that I'm talking about it, almost like an old bottle effect thing. If I know that Mike and Narbe, those guys are, you guys have explored a lot of old bottles and antique bottles and things like that, and there's something called old bottle effect. And I'm not suggesting that that's in here, but there are things in this rum that makes me think of those old antique whiskies. It's an incredible drink, and I think that when you find a really good rum, I think even if you're a whiskey drinker, if you're somebody that loves whiskey, there are rums out there that will speak to you, and I think that this is one of them. That was not planned, Rob. Neither of us had That's amazing that you would even mention that right before I do, but it's absolutely this. It's an amazing thing.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers. Scotty, what about you, buddy?
Well, I was going to call shenanigans at first because I'm thinking, first of all, I haven't had anything besides whiskey this year, and I don't want anything besides whiskey. Then I realized I had done a live stream making some cocktails using Geneva. And it was really impressive. And this was with Tonight's Poison Jazz from Instagram. And there were several different versions of this Geneva, but I really was surprised by it. And we did some, I don't remember what it's called. My favorite was just some lemon juice and some, just carbonated water, like seltzer. Very tasty. And a couple of those, and woohoo.
So now you're drinking from the woohoo effect instead of the taste buds at this point. Because
yeah, but the thing is, though, still, and I've thought about that. I don't vary from whiskey that much. And I mean, I've got some Foursquare rums up there I've had for 3 or 4 years, and they're at the same level they've been at. There's a couple of tequilas up there. I don't go to anything besides whiskey that often.
I've dabbled a little bit with some tequila this year too. There are some pretty special tequilas, but for the most part, I always find my way back to whiskey. Jeremy, why don't you go ahead, bud?
Yeah, I mean, I got into a little bit more agave spirits this year. Did a little bit of mezcals. There were some really good mezcals I tried, but I think I gotta just copy you guys and just go with Foursquare. This is the 2008 exceptional cask, bottle 2020, 12-year-old ex-bourbon. This stuff is it's just got so much uniqueness and weirdness going on with it. It tastes like Asian style noodles with caramel sauce and just weird stuff happening with the rum. So yeah, I'd say your Nobiliary, or however you pronounce that, would be up there, but that 2008 is really good too. So I would say that.
Awesome.
Yeah, gotta go with the rums, man. The rums are doing good things these days.
They are, and they're in the right climate for it too. I think.
Yeah,
it helps.
The nose on this is your Glendronach, by the way, is really good.
Yeah, the nose on this Glendronach is pretty stupid.
You let me know when I'm allowed to sip it, because I've just been nosing it for an hour.
Oh, you guys could sip away. I just sent those to you, so we're all drinking the same thing tonight. But unfortunately, for those of you that don't know the story, we have, I think, 176 people in the chat, which is absolutely awesome. Thank you so much for joining, guys.
Let's take a moment with all those 176 people and raise a united glass and just say congratulations to the classiest man in Whiskytube. Well done. Cheers.
Cheers, Rob.
I got an honor, but I appreciate it. Thank you.
And the Glengoyne is pretty special too, by the way. Thank you.
Oh, I'm glad you like it.
Yeah, I'm gonna pour that now. Actually,
So
I've gone from the Glendronach 12 to the 15 to the 18. I'm pouring a little 21, and I haven't been able to tell the difference between any of them. Just to let you know,
now's the time you drink all of your bottom shelf stuff.
I've gone through a lot of the bottom shelf and the cheaper stuff. Gone.
I have to say, my wife's a GP, and she was asking about Scott, how his olfactory thing is coming on, and I said I think he's getting some hints now. It's getting better, but that's him coming close to 2 months. And she said, he should maybe look into olfactory training. And I said, have you seen his set? He's got plenty stimulants. His olfactory training will be taken care of. Don't worry.
I can tell I'm getting a little bit of sherry, to these. If I pour something that's peated, I'm getting just a hint of the peat and stuff like that. So I'm getting to where I can tell a little bit of the difference, but any nuances, subtleties is still lost.
Well, thank goodness it's coming back for you, because that must be so scary. That's like my nightmare, right? Like,
right.
Oh.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Jason, what about you, man? What about your non-whiskey spirit of the year?
So if it was last year, I actually would have said Foursquare with you guys, because last year I discovered Foursquare, was blown away. This year, I had a bourbon from Bardstown Bourbon Company, which is a 12-year-old MGP cask strength bourbon that was finished in Armagnac cask from Chateau de la Baude. After I had that bourbon, it blew my mind, and I wanted to taste all the Armagnac I could. So I had a chance to taste a cask strength single cask de Lord. I think it was a 20 or 20 something year Armagnac. Fucking blew my mind.
Nice.
Awesome. That's awesome. Armagnac is beautiful. And beautiful
We can drop F-bombs in here.
You can't now, apparently. Sorry.
You guys can say whatever you like. Yeah, the beauty about Armagnacs is that they do everything pretty much the exact opposite of cognac, in the sense. Well, there are some great cognacs. I shouldn't say that, but they bottle at higher ABVs. They throw age statements on pretty much everything. They're doing some really awesome things, and I think Narbe held up an Armagnac there, but we couldn't quite see it in the picture. So maybe Narbe, if you want to show that.
Yeah,
I got a couple. Domaine de Brilliant. This is 1986 vintage of it, and this stuff from Bass Armagnac is honestly it's unbelievable. I paid $90 for this 30-year-old Armagnac. It's bottled at 46%. If you like bourbon, I can guarantee you this is gonna absolutely blow your mind. It is very, very special. It's not too sweet. It's definitely sweet, but it just offers a lot. It's very complex. I don't know that you're going to get that from let's say $100 whiskey. Not many. You're going to have to get very, very lucky. So it really offers. It's 30 years old. There's vintage. It's bottled at 46%. I got it for $100. It's one of those bottles where it's worth buying many of, because you're getting a very high-end experience for in today's spirits world, an affordable price.
Yeah, that's what I was blown away by. Such good age statement Armagnacs with a good proof point are usually about $100 or less.
Yeah,
and they're super flavorful. They have like this. I was lucky enough to speak to and Roy Jr. up there. He's spoken to Nancy Fraley a little bit. She kind of said that Armagnac can sometimes have like this earthy fall leaf like type flavor profile to it. And I had never connected those dots on it, and I was like, man, that's probably why I love it so much.
It's a little more rugged than cognac. Cognac tends to be a little bit sweeter, a little bit perhaps more refined, a little more elegant. But Armagnac has a little bit broader shoulders, more earthiness,
more of an edge to it, more flavor, a little bit more flavor punch. I think just amazing stuff. I'm I'm definitely up in my Armagnac game in 2021.
Yeah, I mean, and just to go by, my favorite reviewer out there, and I know a lot of people agree in the Scotch world. Serge recently reviewed this, and it was exciting to see him review it. And he gave it a 92. So, yeah, it's pretty impressive. But I do have one more. I think I've been fortunate enough to try many tequilas as well, and some tequilas can be very expensive, but it never matches the price for me in terms of value. So I never like to splurge on like expensive bottles of tequila. It always tends to go to whiskeys because even though it's overspending, I'm just obsessed with it. But here's a tequila, Código Extra Añejo. And it's not cheap. It goes for $250. It's not cheap, but it's the best tequila I've ever had. So Código Extra Añejo, if you are seeking an ultra premium tequila that offers, again, like earthiness, like mushrooms and umami, it's not just agave sweetness. It's not just, hey, let me see if this tequila goes down smooth, which is, what a lot of people look for in tequila because it tends to be a party drink. Yeah. This is not a party tequila. It's a sit down, special occasion sipper tequila. And, it really, really blew my mind. So Código Extra Añejo would actually be my pick.
Nice.
That's a good I like how, and we all do that with rums, tequilas. Like you just said, you're like, this is expensive. It's $250. But if that was a bottle of whiskey that we wanted, I mean, we buy 3 of those a week.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perspective.
That Código, I have the Añejo, not the Ultra, but I'm very curious.
I'm a big fan of the Añejo as well. It does go into a whole nother stratosphere with the Extra Añejo.
I believe
it. Yeah.
See, though, you guys just talking about. I mean, I would be willing to buy it just to try it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. Just a couple thank yous really quick here. Casey, thank you so much. He actually acquired me a couple of Glen Scotia Victoriana for a very good price, actually, at $100 Canadian. So thank you so much, buddy. I really appreciate that. Actually, Casey makes a point to tell me very often that he's watched literally every single one of my videos and some of them twice. Wow. So I extra thank you to Casey.
What's up, Casey? What's up, man?
And then Kevin, what's going on, buddy? Thank you so much for the super chat. He says, congrats, Rob. Hope all of you are keeping well and doing well. Glad to join all of you on here. Glad to have you.
Cheers, buddy.
I think we got up to like this is a record breaker for my channel. I think we got up to like 186 at some point. Really appreciate all of you joining in tonight, guys. They're here to see you guys, obviously, and I would be too. So appreciate you guys all jumping in. We'll move on to my next question. And I kind of just want you guys to just shoot the shit and have a dialogue. We don't have to be all formal and stuff. So if anybody wants to jump in at any time, feel free. But expression that you revisited this year. So we all have those ones that maybe earlier on in our journey we tasted and it was not what we expected, or we heard great reviews about it and we weren't quite sure why there were such great reviews. Now, knowing what we know, we go back to that expression and are recaptivated by it, or we found new love for it. So if there was a whiskey like that for you this year or last year or recently anyway, what was that whiskey? And we'll start with Roy.
Because I'm lazy and my kids are old enough to get a kick out of pouring me a dram and bringing me a dram and playing the kind of this is a blind dram, Dad, here you go. I love playing that game and I never ever get it right. I never guess correctly, or if I do guess correctly, it's very rare. And a couple of things happened this year that when you're sipping it like that, when you're interrogating the whiskey, you've got no idea what it is in front of you. Perhaps more often than not, it's the first dram of the night. You're coming at it with a fresh palate and things. There was a whiskey that I had fairly recently, and I'm sitting going, wow, I'm getting so much pineapple. The top notes are here. This is really tropical. This has got lovely malt. I was thinking, this is a good whiskey. This is a good whiskey. Very happy with the whiskey you've poured. Let's go through, and I guessed it, and I couldn't guess what it was, and it ended up being Glenmorangie 10. This happens time and time again with me. I'll go back, I'll be in a restaurant, and the only thing they have is a Glenfiddich 12 or a Highland Park 12 or all these ubiquitous whiskies that we just dismiss because we're surrounded by wonderful choices. And then suddenly you go back to something like that with a clean palate, and you think, oh my God, whiskey is a privilege, it's a treat, it's an amazing thing. And if you're ever in someone's company that they say, oh, I don't drink that anymore, I don't drink that anymore, you just need to find the right moment to kind of lead them, show them the light, to say, all of this is, yes, we can ask for natural presentation, non-chill filtration. Please don't take anything away. Please don't add anything, no color. But whiskey is an amazing thing. Even something is, and we have to, Glenmorangie, they were the first to bring bourbon casks with any serious drive. And I think Scotch in a refill cask is just the most amazing thing. It's still my favorite style of whiskey. And you've got something out there that never lost its age statement when all the other products out there were tempted to lose. And Glenmorangie kept their age statement even when stocks were tight and tough. And it's still out there. It's affordable and it's available everywhere. And I have to say that Glenmorangie, sometimes because they're ubiquitous, because they're a big brand, we don't always connect with them enough. And some of the products are out there, natural colour, 46%. In fact, one of the products, the Quinta Ruban, recently went from a 12-year-old to a 14-year-old and stayed at the same price. So they've got to be applauded as well. And I was shocked at just how fruity and tropical it was. And just as a kind of throwaway thing, this is an interesting thing as well for all of you home blenders and hobbyists and everything. This is my my infinity bottle that I keep at home. And I made an absolute backside of this. I made a mess. I put far too much Highland Park in it, and it just kind of was overtly Highland Park for a long time. And I left it. And I think I ended up leaving it for a year, and it was filled up to here. And I rediscovered it a month ago, and look what's happened. So anybody that's worried or getting nervous about your home blending or infinity bottles or whatever, even if you ruin it, if you leave enough space in the top of the bottle, you can fix it. But just leave it, give it time. And this is an amazing whiskey now. It's great fun to do at home. So I think patience and perspective sometimes is wonderful in whiskey. So there you go.
Scotty, how about you?
Really about the same. And so Bart and I this year, we did a series called Back to the Basics, kind of along the same line here, because we thought, there's all these whiskeys that people come into the whiskey world with, Johnny Walker Black. For me, I moved on to Glenlivet 12, later Glenfiddich 12, but then and those whiskeys bring in a lot of people to the whiskey world. And then we graduate from them, we move on. We want higher ABVs. We want older whiskeys. We want cask finishes. And we forget about, those entry ones when we first had them were delicious, were very good. And we thought those were damn good whiskeys. And so we went back and we looked at it, and Glenmorangie was one of them. Glenmorangie 10. Oh, well, I'll tell you, I was really impressed with Glenmorangie 10, Glenlivet 12, and Glenfiddich 12. Those three really blowed me away just going back with a clean palate and retaking a look at them.
And your palate has probably moved on a bit to pick out a lot of subtleties that maybe when you first had them, you weren't able to really appreciate.
Yeah, that's true too. And the Glenmorangie for a 10-year-old, I remember it too. I mean, it really stood out. When you started to describe, pineapple and tropical and the maltiness, I thought, I bet he's going to say Glenmorangie 10. So yeah, I mean, go back and try those, and I think you'll be surprised.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I'll let these guys go and then I'll share mine. But I just want to say thank you to Graham. I only ever guess if it's a Glengoyne or not. Beyond it, I get lost. Thank you very much for the super chat. Blind tasting, for whatever reason, this year has not gone very well for me. So I'm definitely not judging. I thought my eyes were deceiving me, but it appears that Eric has dropped another massive super chat. Thank you very much, Eric. Really appreciate it. You haven't enjoyed Scotch whiskey at its best until you have had it with haggis. I've had haggis, and I've had very good haggis as well. So,
hey, I think we should end this live stream and go over to my channel, Eric, if you want to join us over there.
I think Eric is drinking good shit tonight.
Oh man. Thank you, Eric. Really appreciate it, buddy. Jeremy, let's go with you, buddy. So what whiskey did you revisit that you were
I think the whiskey that comes to mind for me is one that it wasn't necessarily something that I thought that, you know, I didn't pass it off the first time I had it. I really liked it the first time I had it, but it kind of just sat for so long. I never reached for it. And that was the Laphroaig 18. And I brought that out when I did that whole lineup of 18-year-old scotches and did it kind of like semi-blind to try to pick my favorite. And at no point I thought I would pick that one to be my favorite 18-year-old scotch, but it just outperformed. And it was so good. And like rediscovering it and going over it again, because I think that was a bottle that I got from you in a trade, if I remember correctly, the old green tin.
Yeah.
And it just sat in my cabinet forever, for a year and a half. Never touched it. I don't know why I didn't touch it, but it just tried it again and blew me away. Absolutely loved it. And yeah, so that Laphroaig 18 is a good pour, really good pour. 48% ABV. It delivers. It's really good.
That whiskey, I remember I bought a whole bunch of them off a guy, and he made a secondary profit off of it, but he paid $65 American for that bottle.
65, yeah.
65 US dollars for that bottle. And I think I bought 4 of them off of him for close to $180 Canadian, which was at the time already a great deal because that bottle was going for already much more.
Man.
It's fantastic. Boy, I love that whiskey. That's probably one of my all-time favorites for sure.
Yeah.
Jason, how about you, bud?
For me, it might be a little bit of a surprise. Actually, it was Bullet. Not regular Bullet, because that I have, but I usually use it, you know, when people come over to make cocktails. Mm-hmm. But they released a Blender Select. That was actually pretty impressive this year. And now they've been releasing these ultra-aged, single cask strength releases that have been absolutely phenomenal. And it's just kind of turned my eyes onto Bullet a little bit more. So I think maybe not their regular on the shelf Bullet has kind of excited me anymore, but the new stuff that Bullet is putting out, I think kind of turned me on to Bullet a little bit more. But also just in general, just being at home during the whole COVID thing, I was reaching a lot for some of the lower proof stuff. Not, you know, like a lot of us, we enjoy the higher proof, the non-chill filtered, all those, you know, those great whiskeys. But I was reaching for some of the stuff on the bottom shelf a lot and just trying to revisit it and see if I liked it. So cheaper bourbons like Evan Williams 1783, regular Elijah Craig, regular Larceny, even like Bird Dog and some really like bottom shelf stuff. I was revisiting and say, like, is this as bad as I think it is? And I actually found myself, you know, enjoying a good amount of those and seeing that there is really good quality, you know, whiskey, even on the bottom to second, you know, shelf.
It's funny how often we dismiss certain whiskeys because I say in my whiskey of the year review, head in the clouds, but really it's our head up our ass. Like we tend to like overlook things because I should speak for myself and I will speak for myself, but I become snobby and I kind of overlook things that this year gave me a chance to actually really hone in on some of the stuff that I've been overlooking for all these years because
for sure.
Just whiskey was a lot harder to get this year. And because of that, I found some old school gems that I should have acknowledged a long time ago. But I mean,
there are so many new releases these days, whether it be Scotch, whether it be bourbon, or whatever it may be. There's a new release every other day, it seems like, and it just keeps getting more and more and more. There's another press release that you have to keep track of. That's another whiskey you got to chase, another whiskey you got to hunt for or pay massive amounts of money for. But at the same time, you're, again, like us as reviewers and us as just whiskey geeks, we're always looking for the next best thing rather than, you know, and then like Rob said, we're overlooking some of the stuff that's already been on the shelf. That's pretty damn good stuff and a lot cheaper and easier to find.
Yeah. I'm just gonna say a quick thank you to, I think I'm saying it right, Badad, and he did a couple. One was for me, I guess, and one is for you, Jason, for the F-bomb you dropped. So
you're welcome.
So sorry, what's the F-bomb? Foursquare? Is that...
Mike and Narbe,
So again, we were talking about earlier, 9 out of 10 times you buy something that's overpriced, but you're hoping because you've heard buzz about it and you're expecting this incredible whiskey. This was another one of those whiskeys. So this was many years ago. We purchased this Bruichladdich Blacker Still. It's a 1986 vintage of Bruichladdich, which is known to be one of the better vintages for Bruichladdich. And this Blacker Still kind of has a cult following. And so we were very curious about it. This was bottled in 2006, I believe.
Yep.
Okay, so it's bottled in 2006. So it's not like a recent bottling. It was bottled 14 years ago. So when we got it and we opened it and we just really didn't like it. It was heavily, heavily sulfured. And it just didn't sit well with us. So it literally got put into the whiskey closet and we forgot about it. We had a dram here and there for maybe a year or so, and then we forgot about it for years. And just on a random day, we went back to it after it had been breathing for several years, and all of that nasty sulfur was gone. And it's almost like that sulfur had turned into like unique complexity. And it's an amazing, amazing dram now. So my advice to people always is, if you don't like the bottle of whiskey that you have, put it to the side and don't be scared to put it to the side for years. A lot of people are scared of it flattening out, but if it's higher ABV, you should be okay. But yeah, that would be the most surprising revisit for us in terms of score change would be this bottle.
And Roy, like you said, it's all about patience and air and time. And literally each bottle can go through a journey, where it changes. But if enough people that you read the reviews, you trust them, have, commented on it, said that it's worth the wait, then got to go for it.
Whiskey does teach you to be patient. It does teach you to slow down. But can I just say, boys, you guys are playing a whole different game. I have seen pictures of that bottle. I have never seen it animated or move before. I wasn't sure it entirely existed. So it's quite an amazing thing that you have there. And when I do tune in to you guys, what the channel, the whiskeys that you're sipping are just different league stuff. I mean, you're playing a different game, and for there to be a channel out there that is connecting with that type of whiskey, with those type of seriously legendary bottlings, and for us to be able to have content that we can watch and connect with that's a treat. That's something special. Whatever perfect storm came to create Malt Reviews channel, thank you, because you're playing a game that very few of us even get to be in the same ballpark. Oh, seriously, that's an amazing bottle to even see, and it's amazing to hear that you've come to love it as well, especially with
it really is. We couldn't quite understand why people enjoyed it so much. Maybe just every palate is different, but never had a bottle change in score by over 10 points. This would be it.
Oh yeah.
That's actually one of the biggest things I learned in Scotch, and I talked to Roy about this, how much bourbons can change over time with some air, especially once it gets past the shoulder a little bit. But I have experienced Scotch in a different way that, the more time you give it, the more air it gets, it really does change. And for the most part, I've experienced they get better and better.
Absolutely.
You can read reports, you can read scientific analyses that have looked into this phenomenon, and they tell you that it doesn't change, it's stable. Sorry. I have senses and taste and feelings and emotions, and I have all, and I'm telling you that it changes.
Scientists.
Yeah. But it's not even about that. It's just that it's not that that it doesn't change. It's just that they haven't discovered how to measure the change yet.
Yeah.
Right. But we know as people, and we go into this saying, oh, it's the neck pour, or we go into it saying, oh, and time tells us, and even with this infinity bottle, and I know that I've been mixing whiskies with this, but we know as experienced whiskey drinkers, we can't define it, we can't tell you why, but we deeply know that bottle changes from top to the bottom.
Yeah, and I think surroundings also play a big part. I think whiskey tastes different inside than outside. I think whiskey tastes different whether you're sipping it alone or amongst friends. I think there's a psychosomatic type of involvement as well, besides the science of it, of what's happening in the glass and in the bottle. I mean,
the only time I've been able to make Scott cry is I took him to the Dunnage warehouse at Bunnahabhain, and he got to sip straight from the cask. That exact thing happened. Everything is amplified. Everything is heightened. It's not just all your primary senses are working when you enjoy whiskey. Everything, and it all works together to make the experience. And that's honestly what the addiction is. The addiction is not alcohol. The addiction is that flavor chase. It's that experience. It's that really kind of visceral thing that whiskey can do. Any style of whiskey can do. And I think that's why we all enjoy it so much. You did shed a small tear, Scott, didn't you?
Do what?
You did shed a small tear at Bunnahabhain.
Oh yeah. There's still a small part of me there.
Yeah.
Which
you'll have to come back and collect.
I picked up my Christmas bottle, but hopefully I have my taste. If I don't have my taste buds back,
Is that 30-year-old?
Manzanilla cask, yeah.
oh my God.
Eric is saying, well, thank you very much, Eric, by the way. And he's saying, wow, what a collection of the best whiskey tubers. He's talking about you guys. Congrats, Rob. Thank you very much. Sipping a Glenfarclas 25 cask strength to celebrate. That sounds incredible. Cheers. Yeah. Jeremy actually just bottle killed one of my favorite bottles of all time, that Val Blair right there. That's a Gordon MacPhail cask strength, 1993. That thing is a thing of beauty, 49.6% cask strength. I guess for me, my surprise, like go back to whiskey this year was after all those, it's super unsexy, but the Johnny Walker Green, 15-year-old green Johnny Walker. Honestly, it's one of those whiskeys where, because they have, like, Diageo has such a plethora of incredible distilleries to choose from, that Johnny Walker Green could be something different pretty much every time if they want to, but yet always incredible and always a blended malt. And I love it. Every time I go back to it, I'm shocked at how good it is. And I wish they would do a cask strength version, but I mean, there's nothing wrong with having an everyday sipper like a Johnny Walker.
I'm right with you, man. Johnny Walker Green is my favorite Johnny Walker, easily, hands down.
Let's do it.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. I really, really like it. So that's my, like I said, not so sexy, but one that I fell back in love with this year for sure. So I'm going to combine my last two questions because we're getting close to where I thought we would sign off, and I know that it's super late for Roy, and I really appreciate Roy.
Don't worry about me. This is the weekend. Don't worry.
But, we'll do this in two parts. The one that got away, and then your favorite thing that happened in the whiskey world this year. So we'll do them together. So the whiskey that got away, the one that you were hunting for that you didn't end up getting. I know we kind of touched on this earlier with with an earlier question, but was there a whiskey that you were really hoping to get that you just simply didn't get? And we'll start with Roy.
Can I take my hat off to kind of the community that I know that I connect with on YouTube, you guys, and what the wider community, the people that are out there. We're in a position where we have a following that if we wanted to get a hold of a bottle, we could use them, leverage them, ask them for favors. When we don't do that, we know that it's about us getting our hands on the whiskey and doing the very, very best that we can to get a hold of it. And if we can't get a hold of it, we know that our audience is struggling as well, probably. And, you know, what's the point of talking about something that nobody can connect with? You know, depending on what the channel content is about, of course. So, but I don't do that. I want to be able to enjoy the whiskies that everyone can get a hold of. maybe in my private time, in my downtime, I'll be secretly enjoying whiskies that I've been very, very fortunate to come across. The Kilkerran 8 that Jeremy touched on at the start quite a while ago was such a powerful thing. And it wasn't because it was an elegant whiskey. It wasn't because it was a particularly well-crafted, balanced whiskey. It was none of those things. It was quite brutal and jagged and overt and loud. It's the kind of whiskey that, you know, if you're going to sip in company, it's going to draw your attention sip by sip. But immediately when you start to get to know that whiskey, you know that there's not enough in that bottle. There's not going to be enough in the bottle for you. And then you go out to try and get another bottle and it's gone. So I was fortunate to have mine, but I did have people in the community saying, Roy, I've got an extra. Roy, here's some I've found in stock here. And I was able to get additional bottles through that. If I was on my own, if I was trying to find it on my own, and bearing in mind I'm in the country that it's made, it would have been difficult to get a hold of it. And the wonderful thing about that was that it wasn't a whiskey that people were polishing and collecting and putting on a shelf. Everyone was grabbing that, opening it straight out. They wanted to see what the noise was all about, and they were drinking it. And everybody was drinking it at the same time. So many YouTube channels put out a review within about 6 weeks of each other. Everybody's going, you know, some people really loved it. Some people could understand why it was such a powerful event whiskey. But it was just a compelling, wonderful thing. And it was a shared experience at that point in time. That one almost got away from me. I'm glad to have another bottle and back up there to relive that in the future again. But like I said earlier in the stream, if something does slip out of my reach, I step back. There's so much whiskey. We're spoiled for choice. We don't need to chase every single bottle. There's millions of whiskey. There's millions of whiskey. But that was the one that I'm grateful that while it got away, I had some people downstream with big nets that caught one or two for me. So thank you.
Scotty.
Kind of along those lines, but I just haven't pulled the trigger, and I want to get in. It's the Redbreast 27 year, and it's just money wise. I mean, you're looking at a $500 bottle, and more for the wife. She loves Redbreast. She's into Irish whiskey. But the 15 and the 21 year I love from Redbreast, and I've heard just wonderful things about the 27 year. So it hasn't necessarily evaded me. I just haven't hit the buy button yet.
Makes sense.
How about do it sometime
this year?
Do what?
What about your favorite thing in whiskey this year?
I didn't think on that one, so
okay.
Yeah, I'll pass on that one for now. Maybe something will pop in there.
Cool. Jeremy, what about you, bud?
The whiskey that got away, the one that I really wanted to get this year, and I couldn't because I couldn't cross the border. The COVID restrictions has the U.S.-Canadian border shut down for casual travel. Was the Bunnahabhain Moyne Oloroso. There was someone I knew in the U.S. that had one. If I could just get over there and get it, I would have. But I'm really looking forward to that bottle. I've heard really good things about it. Really like the Moyne red wine Bordeaux that I had. I heard the Oloroso is awesome. So that one is the one that got away that I really wanted to get that couldn't. So hopefully once the borders open, I'll be able to get that. As far as what I liked about the whiskey, I don't know. It's a hard one. I think I'm going to go with Roy's kind of thing instead. I say like the whiskey community as a whole. I think every year it kind of surprises me how awesome every single person is in the whiskey community. Whether it's putting up a bottle for auction because your buddy is going through a hard time, you know, a charitable thing for like a hospital or whatever it is. I always see it in all these groups I'm in. Everyone is always putting up a bottle, being like, hey guys, if you can, you know, put some money into this at auction, whatever, going for a good cause. I see that happen all the time. And I think it's awesome. And I think every single person in the whiskey community, it's not like other groups. It's just like, it's a bunch of nice people doing good things for each other. And that's always the thing I like most about it.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
What about you, buddy?
For me, the ever elusive bourbon that I can never ever get my hands on. This has happened the last couple of years, and it's not Pappy Van Winkle. It's actually King of Kentucky from Brown-Forman.
Yeah.
It's a 14-year-old, 130-ish proof. I mean, they are phenomenal. And no matter how hard I try, no matter, just kind of like Jeremy was saying with the lotteries, no matter what I do, I cannot get my damn hands on that bottle. So King of Kentucky would be up there. My other one is actually a Scotch. And I was probably a little bit too late to the party with trying to, get them. One was Roy, who put that Kilkerran sherry cask strength 8-year into his blind tasting challenge. After I had it, I wanted a bottle so bad, and I realized they were gone, and I was never going to find one. And the other one was a Brooklotti Black Art 7.1, which I absolutely was trying to hunt down too. So those 3 bottles pretty much this year were the ones I really wanted, but never was able to get a hold of. As far as what my favorite thing in whiskey was this year, I think the support. Now, for me personally, I put out a few videos that was like pretty much condemning the secondary market and the overhype and the overrated bourbon market and a lot of the bourbons that fall into that category. I thought I was going to get killed for that. I did in some respects from some people, but I will say 90% of the feedback I got was positive and thankful, and people coming to me still today saying thank you for your honesty, and you've helped my bourbon, you've helped my my bourbon hunting journey and starting my collection, and you've even opened up Scotch for me too in certain ways. So just a lot of that feedback, and from what Roy was saying earlier too, the nerdiness of the bourbon community and how much we want to talk about, like you said, cask maturation and yeast strains and vanillin in barrels and the chemical compound and what happens in the barrel during different climates. I mean, this is what we want to talk about. This is what I want to talk about, and I absolutely love it.
Yeah, awesome.
Hey, Jason, those that Kilkerran 8 just came into the States like month and a half ago.
I mean, it hasn't hit Ohio. I haven't.
Yeah, I mean, keep looking. I'm always looking when I go into places and I see it. I'll pull them and pop the. I don't remember what the ABV is of it. I know it's
57.1.
Look the Kilkerran 8 with that 57.1. Because I'm always opening up the can and pulling them out to see. But yeah, it wasn't that long ago that those just made their way to the States. So there are some around.
Yeah, I mean, if anyone's watching and comes across one, please contact me. I'm looking for one very badly. Thank you, Roy, for that.
Sorry, buddy. Sorry. I have one left, and I'm hugging it like a.
Yeah, I have one left as well.
He's cradling it like a baby.
Big thank you to Heath. I missed a Tantum or something like that. Anyway, thank you so much for the super chat, buddy. It was earlier, and I clicked it, and somehow I made it disappear. I didn't realize that that's what happens to the super chats when you click. Mike, Narbe, what about you guys?
I can think of 2 bottles that got away. That one was a new release. It was the Glenallachie 21-year-old cask strength batch 1. It sold out really fast. It's kind of awkward. Most our scotches we end up purchasing from the UK, and getting them shipped over here because we, better selection over there. So that one got away. I really, I knew it was coming, but I was a little too late. And then the other one is the Springbank 21, which is usually not impossible to get. If you know it's coming, you kind of have an hour or 2 to get it. This year you had about 30 seconds. This year, and we take VAT out, we get it for 160 pounds. It just came out here for $500. So I'm going to skip it. I'm not going to pay $500 for it. 160 pounds, a Springbank 21, that is amazing. But at 500, I'm not going to go there.
And that's one where, as you know, we're huge Springbank fans. That's a must every year we look forward to.
Yeah, but
that was a bird.
It's not just tariffs. I don't know, 25% tariffs, and then it's just $500. It's a little crazy. But those are the 2 bottles that I thought I was going to be able to purchase, and it looks like I'm not going to be able to this year. And I'll let Mike take the favorite.
And just favorite thing. it was supposed to happen this year, but COVID delayed it to next year. But the restarting of Brora and Port Ellen distilleries. So obviously they're never going to recapture the magic, of the 60s, 70s, but I'm very curious to see what they do.
Yeah, me too.
And the people that are complaining it's not going to be the same, it's going to be new distilleries. What's the alternative?
Yeah.
That they just open a greenfield site? Come on, the romance of it. At least we're going to need to wait a long time.
Yes.
But if fates allow, we'll make it to sip new Brora and new Port Ellen one day. Yeah. I have to say, on your 21 as well, Narbe, I tried the Springbank 21. It's beautiful, but I don't know if I would recommend it to a Springbank lover if you were buying it for the sake of Springbank, because it's very delicate. The tasting group that I was sipping it in the company of mistook it for a Clynelish.
Oh, wow.
Very interesting, right? But so maybe you're probably a huge fan of Clynelish as well. But the Springbank side of things was really in check. That funk tends to become more muted with age.
Yes.
And that was very much the case with the 21-year-old.
Gotcha. Okay.
But when it's too expensive, you're right. Just
especially when you're used to paying a certain price year after year, and then all of a sudden it's quadruple that, or triple that. It's the shock is a little too much. I understand a little bit of an increase, but a 300% increase is a little too much to take.
Yeah, I think retailers saw the color of that whiskey and decided to jack up.
Oh, huge!
Yeah,
absolutely.
Literally was, because if you compare it to last year's the 2019, like how much better is it? Is it better? That's
I doubt it is better. Yeah.
So, I mean, that was actually mine, but I'll change it just because that one's already been answered, because I've had a few this year. The Hazelburn 13 I was not able to get that I thought I would be able to get, and the Glenallachie 21-year-old cask strength, which I was really hoping, and I had my finger on the buy button, and I had to take like the long route, buying from the UK and then getting it shipped to Alberta and then getting that shipped over here. Long process, but as soon as I went to click it, gone. Like it literally lasted on a. Hey, thanks, Scotty. You can send that my way if you want.
Still sealed too, Rob.
Yeah, that Glenallachie 21. I mean, Serge reviewed it and he gave it an 89, which is not enough to make me think that that's still a great score, but not enough.
Angus reviewed it. Yeah, I don't think it was Serge. I think it was Angus.
Oh, was it Angus? Okay, all right. But I mean, it's still a great mark, and it's one of those. I love Glenallachie, so that's no secret to this channel.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I'm hoping that I still might have a chance at it, but I don't think so, because there's only like.
Not in batches, so that was batch 1. So we'll be ready for batch 2. Hopefully, it's just as good, maybe better.
Yeah, exactly. And then my favorite thing that happened, it's one of two things. First thing is because of COVID, I got to know some real gems on my street this year and got to get them into a bunch of different whiskeys that I like to think like open their mind up to different stuff. And it was an awesome experience watching each one of them like just completely like change their preconceptions about different types of whiskey. So A, made great friends, B, got like some really cool guys into great whiskey as well. And the other part to that was when I wanted to do this, and I like who can I make like to have 6 squares filled on this stream, and I chose you guys, and I sent out the emails, and one after another, without hesitation, yeah, I'm there. And it blew my mind to see that that's how awesome this whiskey community is that like maybe you hesitated, didn't feel that way, because it was almost instant in the response that I got, that you guys were like, yeah, I'm there. You name the day, I will be there. I'll make it happen. I mean, you guys are all coming from different parts of the world, different time zones, some 3 hours behind, some 6 hours ahead, and you guys all found the way to do it. So I want to thank you guys, because you guys really impressed me with your willingness to do it, and you guys had some great answers and really I think, impressed the chat tonight as well. So cheers, boys. And I really appreciate that you did this tonight.
Thanks for having us. Cheers.
Us, man.
For having us.
And on that note, I want to say cheers to all of you guys. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Holidays. There's a few more super chats coming in. Thank you to Malted in Montreal. And thank you to Stephen Connor. I really appreciate it, guys. Guys, really quickly, we'll go through where they can find you. I'm sure 90%, if not more, of the people that are in the chat tonight know exactly who you guys are, know exactly what your channels are about. But just quickly tell them where they can find you, just in case there are some that don't. Roy, you go ahead.
Yeah, you can find me. You search YouTube for Scotch Test Dummies, and that's where you can find me. I'll be happy to welcome you there.
You got a great recycled review on there. I know that much.
Yes, there is.
Well, if you can find him at Scotch Test Dummies, you can find me at Aqvavitae. And I do a lot of whiskey recycled reviews as well. But
you do.
Yeah. Scott, entire bottle of Elijah Craig barrel proof.
Jerry, how are you,
Most
buddy?
epic whiskey burp that there has ever been.
For those of you that don't know, and the tongue-in-cheek there, that Roy is from Aqvavitae. He has his YouTube channel right beside it. Scotty's from the Scotch Test Dummies. Two of the OGs in the Whiskytube community, and I really appreciate that you guys came on tonight. Jeremy, what's
everyone can see it. It's right there. Super Social Club. Hopefully in the new year, the Whiskey Rant podcast will be back in full force. COVID restrictions getting where they are, so hopefully we'll be back on the podcast. So check us out there. Lots of good stuff coming up on my channel. Got a Daft Mill rundown coming up soon. Got the Whiskey of the Year. Got the brand new Alberta Premium Cask Strength Batch 2 on its way. So check out that. That's going to be coming as soon as I get that. I'll try to get the review up as soon as possible. So lots of good stuff coming up on the channel.
awesome? Jason, what about you, buddy?
Jason C at the Mash and Drum Whiskey Room. Definitely, I don't know, subscribe, check me out. Been putting out a lot of content this week, so yeah, definitely, follow me, give me a subscribe. You can find me also on Instagram at the Mash and Drum, also at on Twitter at the Mash and at Mash and D. Yeah, so check me out, give me a subscribe. Thanks, guys, for having me on. Rob, congratulations again. It's always a pleasure, man.
Yeah. Did you say mash that D?
Mash that D.
Let's go to Malt Reviews. Go ahead, boys. Where can they find you?
Yeah, you can find us at Malt Reviews on YouTube. We're trying to do better. We used to have long gaps of 7-8 months with no reviews, but we're trying to, we're bringing out a lot more content. We're trying to put out a couple videos a week, so we're trying to do better. So hopefully that shows.
Awesome, guys. Again, thank you so much for joining me tonight.
Again, brother.
Rob, yes, thank you so much.
Stay on the line. I want to say bye to you guys individually, but for everybody that joined in the chat tonight, overwhelming response. I really appreciate everybody that came in to celebrate with us. I had a great time. I hope you guys did as well. Cheers, everyone, and happy holidays.
Yes, happy holidays.
Cheers and
Rob. Congratulations.
Congratulations again, Rob.
Cheers.
Congrats, brother.